Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button because this helps us publish more exciting historical trips.
Southampton, England. April 10th, 1912. A cold wind blew across the harbour. The Titanic, a giant made of steel and dreams, prepared for its fate. On the dock, 1,000 faces, 1,000 stories, families beginning new adventures, sweethearts whispering secrets, immigrants holding their few possessions, their eyes full of hope. The air was thick with excitement. The biggest ship ever built, a floating palace, was about to go down in history. The Titanic's horns roared, a deep, powerful sound that echoed across the harbour. Then, slowly, grandly, the ship started to move. The adventure had begun. Whispers trailed the Titanic from the harbour, where its final voyage began. Stories of priceless artifacts hidden deep inside the ship. Many people were interested in these treasures, but few knew where they were. A jewel-covered copy of the Rubaiyat, supposedly going to a rich person in New York. This book was one of the rarest books in the world. Some talked about a secret cargo hold, its contents known only to a special group. This hiding place contained very valuable secrets. A set of ancient Egyptian scrolls said to hold the key to lost knowledge. These writings were considered an extremely valuable historical find. True or not, these stories made the Titanic even more mysterious. The whispers made the ship even more interesting and mysterious. They hinted at secrets hidden below deck, just waiting to be found. These secrets fascinated many people. The whispers followed the ship as it sailed, carried on the wind like the sounds of seagulls. The whispers told tales of lost treasures. They were a reminder that under all the fancy stuff, the Titanic held its share of secrets. These secrets were waiting to be discovered. Among the passengers, some were famous and some were not. John Jacob Astor IV, the very rich man with his young wife. Benjamin Guggenheim, the mining boss. Molly Brown, the rich lady with a kind heart. And then there were all the other people. Families crowded together in third class, their hopes and dreams packed into old suitcases. The musicians getting their instruments ready, preparing to play music during the trip. Each passenger had their own story, their own reasons for crossing the huge Atlantic Ocean. They had no clue that their lives were about to become connected in the most unbelievable way. For days, the Titanic travelled through the icy waters of the North Atlantic. Life on the ship settled into a routine. Days filled with fancy meals, live music, and the excitement of crossing the ocean. In first class, there was lots of champagne. Couples danced under shiny chandeliers. Men in top hats smoked cigars on deck and talked about business and politics. In third class, the mood was hopeful. Families shared stories and laughed together. Kids played tag in the narrow hallways, their voices echoing with the excitement of a new life. The ship seemed like its own little world, a small version of society sailing towards a future full of hope and opportunity. Part 5, A Night of Terror. April 14th, 1912. A night no one will forget, a night history remembers. The night was clear and the ocean looked calm, but wasn't. The stars were shining, like they were watching what was about to happen. In the radio room, warnings about ice kept coming in. But nobody listened to the warnings. But the Titanic, sure of its strength, kept going. Everyone thought the ship couldn't sink. At 11:40 p.m, a lookout's shout broke the silence. An iceberg right in front of them. That was the beginning of the end. The ship shook as it hit the ice. The sound was scary, like the ship was crying out in pain. A few scary moments of quiet, then everything went crazy. The passengers couldn't believe what was happening. Panic spread as the passengers understood how serious it was. Everyone was trying to find a way to survive. The unsinkable Titanic was sinking. Water started pouring in fast, and the ship tipped over dangerously. The band kept playing, and their music was a spooky contrast to the screams and the loud escaping steam. The music felt strangely calming in all the chaos. In that moment, it didn't matter if you were rich or poor. Everyone was the same in the face of disaster. They were all brought together by one powerful fear. That night showed us what it means to be human, where differences disappeared when everyone was in danger together. Part 6, The Unsinkable Ship. The idea that the Titanic couldn't sink wasn't completely crazy. The ship was seen as the best of the best in technology back then, a symbol of pride and what humans could do. The ship was an amazing piece of engineering, built with sealed-off areas that were supposed to keep it floating even if some of them broke. These designs were thought to be perfect, but the people who designed the Titanic didn't think about human overconfidence. Being too sure of their technology made them miss possible dangers. People thought the ship could handle any problem. The passengers felt totally safe, enjoying their fancy trip. Going fast was more important than being careful. The goal was to get to New York as quickly as possible, even though there were warnings about icebergs. When the Titanic sank, more than 1,500 people died. It was a terribly sad moment that no one will forget. The disaster shocked the whole world, showing that humans aren't always in control of nature. Newspapers everywhere reported on the disaster. The sinking of the Titanic was more than just a ship sinking. It was a hard lesson in being humble. It reminded everyone that life is precious, and that it's wrong to think we can't be hurt. In the end, nature is always the most powerful. Part 7. Echoes in the Deep. The news that the Titanic sank shocked the whole world. Families gathered around their radios, hoping to hear the names of their loved ones listed as survivors. Afterwards, many questions remained. Why weren't there enough lifeboats? Why didn't anyone listen to the warnings about the ice? What secrets sank with the ship? It seemed like the ocean held the answers. But the Titanic was 2.5 miles underwater, and its secret seemed lost forever. Part 8. The Search for Answers. For decades, the Titanic rested on the ocean floor. Then, in 1985, a team from America and France found the wreck. This discovery made people interested in the tragedy all over again. Underwater robots sent back spooky pictures of what was left of the ship. The grand staircase, now a messy pile of rusty metal. The cabins, like a snapshot in time, showed us a little bit about how the passengers lived. Every trip to the wreck brought new things to be found, putting together the story of that terrible night. But some questions, like exactly where the ship hit the iceberg, are still a mystery. Part 9. A Lasting Legacy. More than 100 years after it sank, the Titanic still fascinates and haunts us. The ship has become a symbol of human ambition and how unpredictable fate can be. The stories of the passengers and crew, their bravery and kindness, still affect us today. The tragedy reminds us how valuable life is and how important it is to help each other when things get tough. Even though the Titanic is deep in the ocean, it's still a powerful symbol of our shared humanity. A reminder that even when terrible things happen, the human spirit can survive.
Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button because this helps us publish more exciting historical trips.